Good morning, colleagues, and welcome to this morning's CPD breakfast, the first one of the new summer term. And today I'm going to be talking through Microsoft Teams a little bit and starting to use it to be a bit more interactive in our teaching, hopefully start to deliver some online lessons to students, which would be absolutely wonderful, and also disestablishing email as the go-to format for sending work, which I don't think is particularly helpful. So today I want to look at one of my classes, so I'm going to look at 10A EN1. So we just click on them, and then the first thing you'll have is this area called posts, and what you're able to do here is have a conversation with your pupils. So what I'd ask them to do is to reply to me on this thread earlier during the Easter holidays to let me know they have access to Teams, and we'll start setting up some small group tutorials. So the way I'm going to do this, I'm going to group my students into groups of 3 and 4 and then allocate slots in the normal timetable to them where we're going to meet, because that means I can see all of them at the same time, which I think is helpful, but also I think it will mean the teaching's a bit more focused and direct than trying to teach 25 students all at the same time. Now here I can have conversations with them. I've reminded them that this week's work has been set on Go for Schools. Please still use Go for Schools as your central point for setting work. That's really important. That consistency for pupils and parents, I think, is vital, and for yourself, so we don't find out with lots of different things in lots of different areas. Aaliyah Mackay, as you can see, is extremely focused on the conversations with this, so if you teach Aaliyah, look forward to those further conversations, but again, I really like the fact she's using it. I'm not an expert at this, and there'll be further training as I develop my use of it and my students develop their use of it, and I think that's going to be the best way to use this. Do your best. It's okay to muck these things up sometimes. It's important to experiment and develop it, and trial and error is going to be an absolutely vital thing. My favourite football coach, Marcelo Bielsa, the great Argentinian visionary, talks a lot about how failure is what he learns from. I think we're going to get used to quite a lot of failure while we're trying to set these sort of things up online. It's going to be difficult, but I think it will also be really, really valuable. Now, what you can see here is at the bottom, we can start a new conversation with someone and mention them. What we can also do is attach files really easily into this conversation. So to help them out, I'm going to attach a Word document of the guidance that we've got, and everyone will get that sent in this morning's CPD breakfast. And I can put it in the general chat or a folder called Class Materials, where it will appear as well. So I'm going to upload the file. And there it is for the young people, and they can have a look at it now, and there it is. So as you can see, you've got it. This is definitely not from an earlier video recording that went wrong. I'd like to be really clear, definitely not. And then what will also happen, it will also come up in an area marked Files. And so in Class Materials, we can add lots of different things here. And you can also create your own files or folders here. And as you can see, it's not always the quickest, and again, you're going to need a bit of patience, because remember, pretty much the rest of the world is using Microsoft Teams at this point. So there, it's come up now. Now say I want to use this folder for other things that I want to put in for students. So I might put new folder, and let's say write paper 2 assignment PowerPoint. I could create that, and then in that again I can upload a folder or a file. Again, let's find something that would be useful for them. Pictures of my son, not so much. Task 2. And then that will pop up there for them, and then they've got it. So as you can see, what's also great about this though, if I go back to the posts section, in a little while that will pop up here for them as well, so that therefore they know they've got that document, that's come through. Now, Class Notebook is something I'd like to work with people on in more detail, but essentially this is going to be a fantastic folder for your pupils to keep their work and assignments, and you can organise the folders there in some really, really lovely, clear ways. Now, this little button up here, which took me about an hour to find, is the way into it, and hopefully all your pupils should appear in here. But again, I'm going to do a full training on Class Notebook next week when my pupils have got used to using it. But what I've managed to create so far is separate folders for all of the English literature texts that we work on and the different papers. And they can then, in these areas here, upload their work, take notes, share information, that sort of thing. It's really, really useful. And within the class notebook itself, there's a collaboration space and a content space and library for you to drop in stuff as well. But for the moment, if you're already confident with Class Notebook, fantastic, crack on with it. If you're not, wait for Muggins here to get a good handle on it, and I will come back to you on it. Now, a really helpful area here for you to make sure that you're able to get the work from them and keep it in the same area is the assignments bit. So this is really what you need to dovetail with Go for Schools. You might just want to write your new assignment or your work for this week is in the assignment sections of Microsoft Teams. You know, I think that's fine as long as you're always leading through Go for Schools. So let's just create something really easy. Paper 1, question 5. Now that would be a piece of creative writing normally. Enter instructions. Write a story about a time that you were bored, appropriately enough, or trapped. Obviously the GCSE one's a bit more detailed than that, but this is just for the purposes of this training. I could add some resources in here. I can ascribe it points or a score or a mark. So I could say, okay, it's worth 40 points, and I'd also like to add a mark scheme. So this question is actually worth 40 points in the exam. I could add a mark scheme, so when it goes add rubric, so upload rubric. I could upload the GCSE mark scheme, for example, there, or I could create my own rubric. Paper 1, question 5. Go across, description, if for the purposes of training, blah, blah. And again, we'll just do something very easily and quantifiable, because I can delete this later. Paper 3, paper 4, and I can then create the criteria I want. It could be one or two things, it could be quantifiable, and then that means I can give really easy feedback to the pupils, and then I can attach this to the task. And here's our rubric there for paper 1, question 5. And now up here, the blue button, so I can save it, and it will save it automatically for me as well, and I can assign it. And what's lovely here, it appears in assignments here, but what will also happen, it will appear in posts. So as you can see there, little assignment doodly-doo there, and we go back to posts, and there it is. So all the pupils can see that, and they all know it's there. So I think that's a really, really helpful thing. They can then view the assignment. But what's lovely for me as a teacher is I can see whether or not they've handed it in. So it comes in via Teams. So it should come up in their class notebook or in the files area. And again, you can mark it, you can add feedback here. So we can enter some commentary feedback as well there. So really, really easy to keep track of their work. And this I think is a lot easier than going through email attachments and renaming them, which is without doubt the most frustrating task any teacher has ever been set. I'm sure all of you have told your students time and time again to name and label their word attachments properly. None of them ever do. That's the sort of thing that, to be honest, will break us all. So it's a really, really handy thing. Now, the other thing that you can create for them is really helpful quizzes. So when we go down here, now I go to quiz, then it brings you up to Microsoft Forms. Now, I've already created a quiz for this class, but just for the purposes of this training, let's put it on again. So here's Jekyll and Hyde contextual reading. Next. Now wait a little while, because if you save it now, it'll go into assignment drafts and you have to wait for ages for it to appear again. Just wait for it to finish its uploading, then the blue button should come again, and then let's assign it. And there we go, you see it's popped up again. In a minute, there we go, and you see it once again appears in posts. Very nice, very easy. But what I've also decided I'm going to do, and I'd really recommend you do this with your classes on Teams, I'm going to do a weekly check-in survey with them, just to see how things are going. And I think that will provide a really helpful bit of context and feedback for them each day. So how do we create this? Well, let's go to quiz. Let's choose a form, but in this case let's create a new one. So just show you how to do this. And I want to create a survey rather than a quiz, so I'm going to go to Form. Let's call it, say, something like Weekly Update. And so the first question I'm going to ask them is just a rating question, a 5-star rating question. Just very simple, how's the week gone? And then my second question is going to be a text question. I'm going to make this required so people can't skip it. And then the question is going to be English work you're really proud of. Okay, let's add a third one. And let's do a multiple choice question here. How are you, let's say, looking? Don't have to use these exact questions, but we just might put, and I'm going to change this one and edit it later, but this is just for the purposes of this training. So I might say exercise, reading. We can add a number of options. Annoying your parents. Or as my son is doing, drawing felt tip on your face and claiming you're a monster. Oh, let's just get... Okay, so those are my 3 questions. So that's now sorted, and that now is going to be in Teams and accessible because it saves it automatically for me. So if we go back to Microsoft Teams, and I go back to, now I'm sure there's less cumbersome ways to do this, but again, bear with me whilst I get used to things myself. And again, now there it is. So the weekly update is now there. I click on it, I go to next. Again, you can give further instructions if you want. There's no points for this survey, just wait for the blue button to appear. We assign it. There it is. And again, this is a really helpful thing because I'll be able to see again from the 25 when it appears here who's responded to that feedback, so who is checking in with me regularly, and then I can use it to be positive with them, to engage with them in lots of different ways and kind of move things forward. Now, the last thing I just want to talk about today is thinking about how we're going to start talking to our pupils online a bit more. Now, this is a really, really important and nice and easy thing. So just here is our meeting clicker. So don't worry, if it says meet now, that won't create a meeting immediately unless you press a variety of other things. So if you just click on the camera, now in this case, I want to schedule a meeting. And so I'm going to click on schedule a meeting. And because I'm breaking my groups into groups of 3 students, and that means they can see me and I can see all 4 of them, or all 4 of us at the same time, which I think is really, really helpful. I'm going to bung in the people in my class. So Kezia, Amelia, and Louis. And we'll schedule that meeting for 9 o'clock this morning, 9:30. Again, this sort of thing, half an hour, type details for the new meeting. And then this will send to those particular pupils. And I've scheduled a meeting. And that this means then, when we go into the details of this meeting, so we can then join it, and the pupils can then join it. And then when you click on Join Now, you should be able to do the tutorial session with your pupils. So this is very much a whistle-stop tour of Teams. I've reattached the guidance for teachers and students in the email as well. So this is about having a go, isn't it, I think, and about using this well. If you're going to do video calls with pupils, please remember about being safe and sensible in terms of your behaviours. You're not in a conversation with friends, you're in a conversation with pupils. Think about your location, think about whether or not you've got your camera on or not, how you're dressed, what's in the background, what is on your computer, all these kind of things. Again, approach it with the same professionalism that you would a normal lesson. But good luck using this. Please feel free to email me any successes or failures. Remember your Bielsa in terms of those sort of things. And let's see how everything goes. Good luck with this week. And there'll be further updates. And I'm going to do as much regular training on this as I learn more and more about it and how we can learn to make this a really great tool for developing our remote teaching and learning. I hope everyone's safe and well. I love you guys and speak to you all very soon. Okay, take care. Bye.